Ya Ali Madad everyone, and welcome to today's webinar titled Love for the Imam, to be presented by Alwaeza Parinda Chagani. My name is Zain Panjwani, and I will be the facilitator for this webinar, which will be an hour long, with approximately 30 minutes allotted for a new TED-style presentation and 30 minutes for a conversation between me and Alwaeza. Before we get started, I want to go over a few things. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for taking your time to be with us today, to explore, to be curious, and to be inspired. I'd like to thank all the volunteers and resources that have made this webinar possible. And lastly, I want to thank Alwaeza Parinda Chagani for sharing her time with us today. Before we begin the presentation, let me share a quick bio of our speaker today. Alwaeza Parinda Chagani is a graduate of the International Wa'izine Training Program and has been a Wa'izine for over a decade. In addition to her Wa'izine work, Alwaeza Parinda has served in various roles within the institutions, including as chair of Focus Canada, Jamaati Mukhani Saiba, as well as IVC captain. Alwaeza Parinda holds a master's degree in health administration. By profession, she is a management consultant and specializing in operational effectiveness and behavioral insights. Alwaeza Parinda lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. So without any further ado, here is Alwaeza Parinda Chagani.
Thank you, Zain. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Late October, early November 2008. Maulana Hazar Imam is visiting Central Asia as part of the Golden Jubilee commemoration program. He plans to visit 3 countries, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Afghanistan, which adjoins Tajikistan to the south, is not on the list. Maulana Hazar Imam arrives in Gorno Badakhshan in Korog, where the majority of the Tajik Jamaat lives. For this 3-day visit to Korog, Maulana Hazar Imam is staying at the Korog Serena Inn, which overlooks the Panj River. The Panj River separates Afghanistan from Tajikistan. Just as we lined up the streets to catch a glimpse of our beloved Maula when he arrived in our cities during the Golden and the Diamond Jubilees, similarly, the Murids who live on the Afghan side of the river Panj in the vicinity of Korog have heard that Imam is staying at the Serena Inn across the river, and they are anxious to catch a glimpse of him. And so they come. They come during the day, during the night. They come to the bank of the river across from the Serena, and they stay there as long as they can, hoping to catch a glimpse of their beloved Maula. They say the Salawat and they wait in hope. And during these 3 days, whenever Maulana Hazar Imam comes out of the Serena or is returning to the hotel, he sees the Murids gathered across the river. And the Murids see him. They are filled with joy. And the tears start to flow, tears of love and joy. Maulana Hazar Imam comes to the bank of the river and he waves to the Murids. Here, the river is not very wide, only 20 or 25 meters wide. Maula is so close. The Murids are overjoyed. And some Murids are unable to contain their emotions upon sighting the Imam. They step into the water and begin to walk through the river towards the Imam. At this time of the year, the waters of the river Panj are icy cold. They flow swiftly and can be dangerous. Maulana Hazar Imam sees his murids in the water coming towards him, and he signals to them with his hands, and he tells them to go back to the safety of land. And the murids turn back and they return to land. This anecdote speaks to the bond between the Imam and the Murid. This bond is a spiritual bond. It is a matter of the heart. It is a matter of the soul. And therefore, it is difficult to articulate. But this anecdote gives us a glimpse in a very powerful way, in a very tangible way, of the deep love between the Murid and the Imam. The bond between the Murid and the Imam is, as we know, rooted in the Holy Quran itself. It is a permanent bond. It is beyond time. It is a spiritual bond. It transcends space. It is an individual bond. This is the bond that has sustained us through 1400 years of our history, that sustains us today, and that will sustain us tomorrow, right through to the end of our lives and beyond. And a very significant dimension of this bond is love, the mutual love between the Imam and the Murid. Indeed, one may say that love is the hallmark of the Imam-Murid relationship. Qadi al-Numan, in his book, Pillars of Islam, relates an incident where Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam said, quote, "What is religion if not love?" End quote. Today, we will explore the principle of love in religion, and we will then reflect upon how this love manifests, how it is expressed in practical terms. Divine love, the love between Allah and human beings, is referred to in the Holy Quran as well as in the Hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. In fact, one of the beautiful names of Allah is Al-Wadud, the most loving. And throughout the Holy Quran, we find references to Allah's compassion, His love, His mercy, all of which convey Allah's deep love and care for human beings whom He has created. And so we find that the Holy Quran refers to Allah as the ever-loving, the affectionate. The Holy Quran also has many examples that illustrate Allah's deep love for His prophets and how Allah's love and care encompassed their entire lives, especially at times when they were the most vulnerable. And the Holy Quran explicitly calls for love of the Ahlul Bayt. The verse of Al-Mawada fil Qurba, expressing love for the close of kin, that is, the family of the Holy Prophet, is an important message in the Holy Quran. It is reported that a group of people came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and they said to him, quote, "O Messenger of God, you came to us when we were in error, and God guided us to the right path through you. We were poor, and God made us rich through you. Here are our worldly possessions. Take from them what you desire." End quote. At that time, the verse of Al-Mawada fil Qurba was revealed, which says, quote, "Say, O Muhammad, no reward do I ask for my favors, except your love for my kith and kin." End quote. When this verse was revealed, the people asked, "O Messenger of Allah, who are the kith and kin whose love Allah has made obligatory upon us?" The Prophet replied, "Ali, Fatima, and their 2 sons. So we have on the one hand Allah's love. We have love for his prophet, and we have love of the Ahl Bayt. These 3 principles are connected. And so in Islam, love of Allah includes love of his prophet, and it also includes love of the Ahl Bayt. There is a lovely hadith of the Holy Prophet that brings together these 3 principles: love of Allah, love of the Prophet, and love of the Ahl Bayt. The Prophet said, "Love Allah for his countless bounties upon you, and love me because you love Allah, and love my Ahl Bayt because of your love for me." We have discussed that love for the Ahl Bayt is rooted in the Holy Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet. Let us now reflect upon how this love manifests, how this love is expressed in practical terms. The role of the Imam is articulated in the Ismaili constitution, which states, quote, "Historically and in accordance with Ismaili tradition, the Imam of the time is concerned with spiritual advancement as well as improvement of the quality of life of his Murids," end quote. Through the ages, the Jamaat has looked to the Imam of the time for guidance. Our need for guidance is based on our reality. As the highest form of Allah's creation, human beings are endowed with the gift of the intellect, and therefore the freedom of choice. The choices that we make shape our lives. They shape the lives of our children, our families. But how do we navigate the pressures of time, the turbulence of changing social, economic, political circumstances to make the right choices, knowing that these choices impact not only this physical life, but the life hereafter? Human nature is frail and weak. Human vision is limited and constrained, and hence the need for guidance. And so over the ages, the Imam of the time has guided the Jamaat. This guidance itself is reflective of Maulana Hazar Imam's deep love for his spiritual children. Imam's guidance to the Jamaat and his profound love for the Jamaat are intricately woven together. Imam's love is an intrinsic part of his guidance. And Maulana Hazar Imam has spoken of this, how throughout our history, the Imam of the time has, through his immense love and affection for his spiritual children, guided us so that we may obtain worldly and spiritual satisfaction. In terms of Imam's guidance in our material lives, Imam's guidance has paved the way for a better quality of life, even transformation for Murids around the world. Indeed, Maulana Hazar Imam remarked during the Takht Nashini in Bombay in 1958 how the Ismaili community had grown and prospered almost beyond recognition due to the guidance and wisdom of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam. Beyond recognition, that is the barakah of Imam's love and guidance and blessings. And the Imam guides us in spiritual matters. It is not easy to describe spiritual transformation, but we can remind ourselves of Sayyidina Nasir Khusro's beautiful articulation of the spiritual transformation that he attributed to the Imam of the time. Barjan man chu noor Imam zaman bitaft, when the light of the Imam of the time shone on my soul. Laylussara budamu shamshuz suha shudam. Even though I was dark as night, I became the glorious sun. Imam's love for us is also reflected in his dedication to the Jamaat. At the young age of 21 years, Maulana Hazar Imam pledged to dedicate his life to the upliftment of the Jamaat. For over 62 years, Maulana Hazar Imam has been committed to improving the quality of life of the Jamaat. What can convey the effort and dedication that it takes to improve the quality of life of a people? During the Golden Jubilee, at the foundation stone laying ceremony of the Jamaat Khana in Korog, Maulana Hazar Imam used the analogy of a gem cutter, expressing his hope that Korog will become the jewel of the Pamir. He explained how a gem cutter makes a jewel. He said, quote, "It is my hope that the town of Korog will become the jewel of the Pamir." The gem cutter, the person who prepares the jewel, cuts it and polishes it, until he has fashioned the gemstone into a stone of absolute purity, end quote. And then Maulana Hazar Imam explained how he will make Korog the jewel of the Pamir, saying, quote, "Today we have a new park in Korog. Inshallah, we will build the University of Central Asia. We will build this center, and while working together, step by step, we will make Korog the jewel of the Pamir," end quote. This analogy illustrates Maulana Hazar Imam's hard work and dedication. The gem cutter is totally dedicated to his work as he strives to make the gemstone pure. And so he cuts and polishes, he cuts and polishes, he cuts and polishes. The gem cutter's dedication is symbolic of Maulana Hazar Imam's own dedication to his Jamaat as he works and works and works for the benefit of the Jamaat, for the benefit of the larger community, undertaking project after project after project. This quick reflection does not even scratch the surface of the profound significance of the Imam-Murid relationship. Imam's blessings and guidance and love lights our lives. It sustains us, it protects us. If we stop to reflect upon the depth and breadth of what this truly means to us individually, to our families, to our Jamaat, if we stop to reflect upon this, we would feel what inspired Nasir Khusro to say in his poem, quote, "Therefore, my back is bent with gratitude. Therefore, my back is bent with gratitude under the weight of the favors of Ali," end quote. So as Murids then, how do we respond to Imam's deep love for us? Of course, we can and we do express this love in many ways, through offering gratitude, through devotional recitations, through rendering service, and so on. On the occasion of the celebration of his 80th birthday, Maulana Hazar Imam said, quote, "My wish for the decades ahead is that you stand firmly by the principles and the ethics of our faith. Wherever you are, whatever age you are, whatever you do in your lives, it is essentially important to me that the principles of our faith should be respected every day of your lives. This is my hope and this is my prayer, end quote. So we can strive every day to strengthen our love for our Imam and to express it through trying to fulfill the hope and prayer that Maulana Hazar Imam expressed on his 80th birthday. Maulana Hazar Imam has reminded us on many occasions that there is nothing that can separate the Imam from his Murids. No mountain, no river, no ocean. And the anecdote that I shared at the beginning of my presentation speaks to this. Let me conclude by sharing another anecdote that also speaks to this. This is a story of the northern areas of Pakistan, which we know is the region in the northernmost part of Kashmir. This is a high altitude region that is home to almost half of the world's highest mountains. Travel to the northern areas can be challenging. The flights from Islamabad are subject to weather clearance and are often delayed or cancelled. By road on the Karakoram highway, the journey can take up to 20 hours. Landslides are common, and parts of the highway are simply treacherous with hairpin bends and sheer drops as the road winds its way through the mountains and the valleys. As we know, the northern areas of Pakistan is also home to a large Jamaat. Hunza, for example, is almost completely Ismaili. During the Silver Jubilee year, when Maulana Hazar Imam visited Pakistan in 1983, he was scheduled to visit the Jamaat in the northern areas. Unfortunately, due to poor weather conditions, it was not advisable to travel, and Maulana Hazar Imam's flight was cancelled each day. In this way, the entire period that Maulana Hazar Imam would have been with the northern areas Jamaat passed, and Maula was not able to visit the Jamaat. Maulana Hazar Imam promised the Jamaat that he would soon return to Pakistan and he would then visit the northern areas Jamaat. And Maulana Hazar Imam said that he would travel by car or by mule or even by foot if necessary. And later that year, Maulana Hazar Imam did indeed return to Pakistan, and he also visited the northern areas Jamaat. And Alhamdulillah, he did not have to travel by mule or by foot. But there is an astonishing background to Maula's statement. The Jamaats in the northern areas and other Central Asian countries had had minimal physical contact with the Imam of the time since the 11th century, when Sayyidina Nasir Khusro brought the Ismaili Tariqah to that region. We are told that the Mir of Hunza had received some letters from Imam Khalilullah alayhi salam, and in 1940, at the request of the Mir of Hunza, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam made a radio speech to the Hunza Jamaat through the All India radio. In 1960, 3 years after Maulana Hazar Imam became our 49th Imam, Hazar Imam visited the Jamaat in Hunza. The Jamaat there had not had the Zahiri Didar of the Imam of the time for 1,000 years. More than 25 generations had practiced the faith without ever having physically seen the Imam of the time. Maulana Hazar Imam traveled to Hunza from Gilgit, a journey that today takes 2 hours by jeep. It took 3 days for Hazar Imam to make this journey. 3 days. As we have seen, the roads are treacherous and inaccessible even today. And in 1960, they were worse. Where the road was accessible, Hazar Imam traveled by jeep. Where bridges were unreliable, volunteers pulled Hazar Imam's jeep using ropes. And in the many parts where there was no proper road, Maulana Hazar Imam walked. Maulana Hazar Imam actually traveled by foot through the mountains and the valleys in order to be with his Jamaat. Such is our Mawla. We are indeed blessed, and for this blessing of a living Imam, we must always be grateful. As we approach Maulana Hazar Imam's 84th birthday on December 13th, let us most humbly offer Salgira Mubarak and our wishes for a most wonderfully happy birthday to our beloved Maulana Hazar Imam. Salgira Mubarak.
Thank you so much, Alwaeza, for sharing your insights on this topic today. It's wonderful to reflect and hear stories of the Imam as we approach his birthday. I thought I'd ask you a few more questions to dive a little deeper on the topic and maybe hear more stories from our tradition. You mentioned that Qadi al-Numan reports an incident with Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, who said, "What is religion if not love?" Can you relate any more details of the incident?
Qadi al-Numan relates that a group of people from Khorasan came to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. Among them was a man who had severe blisters and deep cuts and bleeding on both his feet. Seeing this, the Imam asked him what had happened. And the man replied that it was because of the great distance that he had traveled. And he went on to say, "O offspring of the messenger, I swear in the Lord's name that it is only love for you, the people of the house, that has brought me this distance." The Imam responded, "Rejoice in that case, for I swear by God that you will be raised with us on the day of judgment." And the man replied, "Really? With you, O offspring of the messenger of God?" And the Imam said, "Yes, no servant of God has ever loved us without God raising him together with us. What is religion if not love?"
We have talked about how our Imam's love reflects in the guidance that the Imam gives us and in the Imam's dedication in seeking the betterment of the Jamaat. And of course, Maulana Hazar Imam has often expressed his love for the Jamaat. And he frequently reminds us that he is always with the Jamaat in his heart, in his thoughts, and in his prayers, and how deeply he loves the Jamaat. This is a great source of comfort and strength as we deal with life's problems and challenges.
Absolutely. Over and over again, Maulana Hazar Imam has told us that he watches over us. He thinks of us, and not a single day goes by that he does not think of his Jamaat. And if we reflect upon what that means in practical terms, we live in challenging times, frequent natural disasters, increasing number of crises and conflicts in various parts of the world. And we are a global Jamaat scattered all over the world. And the Imam is extremely concerned about the Jamaat's well-being. Those of us who are parents will know how it feels for us when even one of our children is going through some difficulty. How must it be for the Imam when entire Jamaats are in difficulty? In the face of these challenges, Imam's care and concern and protection, his Chhatra Chaya, is always over us. And look how Hazar Imam responds to these challenges. when the former Soviet Union collapsed, the food subsidies from the central government to Tajikistan stopped. Tajikistan did not produce much food. It had relied on the food supplies from the Soviet government. When these stopped, there were massive food and energy shortages. A humanitarian crisis developed. The people in Gorno-Badakhshan began to starve. The Aga Khan Foundation mounted a major relief program to deliver food to the people living in this hard-to-reach mountainous region. We may remember the major earthquake that occurred in India in 2001. Hospitals, schools, electric power, water systems, bridges, roads, all were significantly damaged, especially in the Kutch district. AKDN agencies responded, not only providing much needed supplies at the time, but also over the following years, establishing programs to help rebuild the area. Today, in the face of the global pandemic, the agencies of the AKDN are pulling together their expertise to find creative and effective solutions. They are participating in clinical trials for COVID pneumonia, providing emergency food and medicine, establishing emergency response centers. Even in remote areas, for example, in Buni, Chitral, they treated a 103-year-old man who had COVID, and they helped him to recover. The list goes on and on. It is inspiring to read about the work of the AKDN, about the extensive and incredible work of the Imamat agencies. And yet, while Imam cares about entire Jamaats and entire populations, he is also so very caring at an individual level. In 1978, during Maulana Hazar Imam's first visit to Canada, it was November. In some cities that he visited, the temperature was well below zero. In one of these cities, after the Mulakat, as Maulana Hazar Imam was leaving the Didar hall, the Mukhi and the Kamaria followed. They did not stop to get their shoes and their coats. They got to the exit, and before they stepped outside, which was in -degree temperatures, Maulana Hazar Imam turned around, looked at the Mukhi Sahib and said to him, "Mukhi, go back inside. You will catch a cold."
In just a few days, we will inshallah celebrate Maulana Hazar Imam's 84th birthday. This has been a tough year where a lot of us cannot attend Jamaat Khana. Can we reflect upon what we as his Murids, as his Jamaat, can give to our Imam on this day?
A birthday is a special day, a day that one would wish to be filled with love and happiness, a day of being spoiled perhaps by our loved ones. On the occasion of Maulana Hazar Imam's 84th birthday, what can we give to the Imam that would make him truly happy? At his 80th birthday celebration, Maulana Hazar Imam spoke of his hope and prayer that we stand by the principles of our faith and live our lives according to the ethics of our faith. And over the years, Maulana Hazar Imam has talked about what Jamaat can give to the Imam for his birthday, and he has spoken about three things. One, the importance of the Jamaat being united, brothers and sisters working together, assisting each other wherever and whenever possible or needed. Two, regularity in practice of the faith, in the obligatory practices, but also making remembrance an integral part of our day. Maulana Hazar Imam has often said that he is always with us. And so we have to ask ourselves individually, do I feel his presence? How can I feel his presence even more strongly all the time? How can I strengthen this spiritual bond with my Imam? And 3, living ethical lives. In our interactions with each other, in our interactions within our jamaats, within our societies, in our respect and care for the environment, indeed for all of Allah's creation. Our tariqah teaches us to draw upon the ethical and moral principles of honesty, of kindness and compassion, of caring and generosity. So these are some thoughts to reflect upon.
You shared the story of Maulana Hazar Imam's visit to Hunza in 1960 and how he overcame all the challenges associated with visiting such a remote region. This must have been an incredible moment for the Jamaat.
Indeed, one that lives in the Jamaat's memory. In fact, during the Golden Jubilee, the Northern Area's Jamaat decided to commemorate that 1960 visit when Maulana Hazar Imam had walked to see his spiritual children. To celebrate the Golden Jubilee, a special program called Steps of Inspiration took place in the northern areas. In September of 2007, a group of Murids set off from Gilgit to walk to Hunza on the old Silk Route, the same route that Maulana Hazar Imam had traveled from in 1960. This route is no longer in regular use. The group from Gilgit was joined on the way by other Murids, and so in total, about 400 Murids, men, women, and elders, participated in this journey of 101 kilometers. The journey one way took 3 days. Aga Khan Health Services provided medical facilities, including ambulance coverage, and Focus provided technical assistance for this initiative. When the group passed through the villages on the way, volunteers welcomed them with food and refreshment. What a lovely sequel to the story of 1960, the Steps of Inspiration program that was held during the Golden Jubilee year. Talking about the Golden Jubilee, when Maulana Hazar Imam was interviewed by Peter Mansbridge of CBC during his visit to Canada, Mansbridge asked Maulana Hazar Imam, "What is your hope for this Jubilee year?" Maulana Hazar Imam responded, "I don't have one hope, I have many hopes." Like any parent, Imam is so ambitious for us and has such high aspirations for the Jamaat, for the quality of life of the Jamaat, for the Jamaat's success, for the Jamaat's happiness. All these aspirations are indeed a reflection of Maula's love for his Jamaat.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to ask all of you to fill out the survey that is available on the link below. If you are joining us via YouTube, please click on the survey link in the description tab below the video, which will take you to our II Canada page for this webinar, where you can click on Share Your Feedback found under the title. And lastly, I'd like to remind everyone about the access line that allows you to access resources, information, or assistance of any type. The number is 1-888-536-3599. You can also visit iicanada.org for further information on how to contact the access line. Thank you once again for joining us. My name is Zain Panjwani, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Ya Ali Madad.